You're listening to Rolling with Tay podcast. I'm your host, Tasia, aka Tay, and this is episode 2. On this episode, I wanted to talk about traveling internationally during a pandemic. Now, traveling internationally already has layers. So traveling during a pandemic has added layers. I recently traveled to Cartagena, Colombia, a couple weeks ago, and in order to enter into the country, I needed a negative PCR test, a negative PCR COVID test. Now, there's a difference between a PCR COVID test and then a rapid test. The PCR COVID test is like the gold standard of COVID test, and then the rapid test it has, I believe, it detects certain strands of the virus, but not the actual virus. So I guess you can still have the virus and have a negative rapid test. I'm not a doctor, so don't quote me on that. But so yes, so in order to enter into the country, I needed a negative PCR test. That might have changed since I've gone a couple weeks ago. Things are ever changing with COVID and the requirements and the protocols. So one thing I advise everyone to do is to check some sites for protocol information, for general information about the country, any vaccinations that are needed or recommended for the country. Now, this is prior to COVID. Certain countries recommend that you have certain vaccines coming from the U.S. into their countries. So yeah, and does the country require you to have a visa before entering the country? When I went to Vietnam, I had to have a visa to go to the country. Brazil, you need a visa. Egypt, for example, you do need a visa, but you can get the visa once you land in the country. You can get it at the airport. But you just want to be sure before you travel internationally to these places that you're good, like I said, with the protocol, with any vaccinations, any visas, general information about the country and the city that you're traveling to. Is there a curfew? Is there some civil unrest? What's going on in the country? So you do want to check out the CDC website. You want to check out the any tourism websites that the country may have, or the city in the country that you're going to. You want to check out the airport's website. That was a good tip from a good friend of mine. Check out the website of the airport that you're flying into. They should have protocols, COVID-related protocols on there. You want to check out the U.S. Embassy's website, and you can search for the country that you're going to, and they'll give you all the information that is needed. So you definitely, and just check out some sites. If they have a Twitter page for a specific location. When I was doing my research for Colombia, I went to the mayor's of Cartagena's Twitter page. So I was up to date with what was going on as far as the COVID and the curfew that was in place. So, like I said, Twitter. If there are Facebook groups for the country that you're going to, definitely a useful tool. I was in a Facebook group for Cartagena. So people who were there, people who were traveling there, people who had just come back from there, are all in this group, and I'm able to stay somewhat up to date via that group. What's happening, and I think that's about it. But you can just, like I said, definitely the CDC, the U.S. Embassy, the airport that you're flying into. And they should have pretty much up-to-date information on what is needed to enter into the country. Now, leaving Cartagena, I needed another COVID test to enter back into the U.S. Now, that could have been, that was either a PCR test or a rapid test. So the U.S., said they would take both. So, just make sure before you travel internationally, you have all your ducks in a row. Because you definitely don't want no surprises while you're there. Like, luckily that we knew that we needed tests to come back into the country. Luckily we knew that they only had to be rapid tests and not PCR tests. So all that could have hindered our trip, and but we knew that prior to going. So, yep, just wanted to give you a quick tip or tips about traveling internationally during a pandemic. And definitely check out some travel YouTube videos of people who have gone there or gone to these places. Like I said, Facebook groups, even Instagram pages. A lot of these travel influencers post about their process. Same thing with TikTok. So just type in to search the place that you're going, and travel protocols, and information should pop up. So yeah, thanks for listening to episode 2 of Rolling with Tay podcast. Again, I'm your host, Tasia, aka Tay, and I'll see you on the next one.